Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Go Premanandi. Om Jnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shakaya Chakshum Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasani Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All this talk about college and careers makes me flash back to my younger days. And it also makes me think of Prahlad Maharaj's famous statement in the 7th canto. Komara acharat prabhya dharman bhagavatanaha durabha manasam janma tarapya dhuvam artada. Prahlad, talking to his schoolmates. They're all around 5 years old. During lunch break, he explained from the very beginning of life, Komara, or at least from the time in your life, no matter what age, that you start to understand what is the ultimate goal in life, the ultimate career. You take up Bhagavad Dharma because you have to understand your assets, your resources, your inheritance. Durlabha manasam janma. The human body is very difficult to get. Talapya dhruvam artadam. Although it's a dhruva, temporary, it still has artha, it still has value. You see, from the platform view of intelligence, if something is temporary, it's not very valuable. But we have been trained in a consumer society to put all our focus on what is temporary and define our independence and well-being in that way. Whereas Prahlad assumes some basic human civilization. The symptom of a genuine human civilization is that you value what is eternal. But you say, how then can I see any worth in this human body since it's temporary and since real value is appreciated and seen in that which is eternal? But Prahlad points out, even though the human body is temporary, it still has value because with it you can take up the supreme occupation and get the supreme education. Bhagavad Dharma. So some of you are very young, some of you are much older. Nevertheless, Prahlad is urging that we understand the urgency that the human body gives. great responsibility, and act on that responsibility. Preferably as a very young person. But, as the saying goes, better late than never. Those of you who are young are going through the whole future preparation. Maybe involuntarily, because you're doing it just because your parents push you to do it. And those who are older, you still have to consider the future. It's amazing how we deny concern for the future that comes after this body is finished. Especially in Western so-called civilization that you are all growing up in and participating in, like it or not. People have a very casual attitude about what will the next body be. Srila Prabhupada would always point out that in India, even a villager, uneducated villager, is concerned, what will my next life be? What will my next body be? But in the advanced first world, it's not a topic of concern. When you filled out your online applications for college, or you filled out your profile for LinkedIn, did you notice the question, what will your next body be? No, it was not there. Not a consideration. Simply succeed in the present moment. Enjoy in the present moment. What happens in the future? It's not really relevant. In fact, psychologists, do you have any psychologists here? Yes? They're hiding that. They say that if you, and this is from a course in well-being and happiness taught at Yale University. I witnessed the course online. If you are concerned so much about the future, you ruin the enjoyment of the present moment. So therefore, better to just focus on the present moment and savor it without much concern for the future. Then your happiness increases. So this is what the students are being taught. Why? Because according to Yale University's own statistics, which they have released to the New York Times, at least half, 50% of their student body during their undergraduate years there has approached the university for psychological counseling due to mental stress and other problems. Half of the student body. So they offered a course on happiness and well-being, thinking a few students will sign up. So they designated a classroom that could hold maybe 100 students. When the enrollment for the course was finished, 1,400 students had signed up. The students are in such anxiety. How am I going to be happy? How am I going to have well-being? So they had to move the course into a concert auditorium. Because 1/4 of the university was taking the course. So they were teaching the students that to savor every moment, you shouldn't have concern over the future, nor should you be concerned that your enjoyment is temporary, because that'll ruin everything. But we are very futuristic. How can we deny that we're not concerned with the future? That's why parents send their children to school. That's being futuristic. And is there anyone here who has no insurance for their car or home? That is being futuristic. You have to be prepared what may happen in the future. But when it comes to what will your next body be? Oh, that's different. That's just Bhagavad Gita. I know Bhagavad Gita. My grandmother read me Mahabharata stories. That's all I need to know. This is our attitude. We're not in a society that trains us to think, what will the next body be? Yet, we do think about the future in terms of economics, status, prestige. I'll tell you a true story. Growing up in my family, my mother, even though I was just a little kid, was always asking me, "You're 7 years old now. Have you thought about what you want to be when you grow up?" And then she would get her brothers, my uncles, and they would ask me the same question. "Nephew, are you thinking about it yet?" No one said, "Oh, you're just 7 years old. You should play and have a good time." No, they were pushing. "What are you going to be?" So I didn't know what to say. But I remember pictures of petroleum engineers with these hard hats on at the refinery. So I thought, those hats look very cool. So whenever they asked me what I want to be when I grow up, I said, "I want to be a petroleum engineer." Oh, they were very happy. "Oh, very nice, he's thinking about these things." So immediately my mother would race to the children's bookshop where they had books for children about their future as so many careers. She'd come back home with a book, "Your Child's Future as a Petroleum Engineer." Then, 2 years later, when I was 9, again they would ask me, "What do you want to be? What do you want to be? You still want to be a petroleum engineer?" By that time, I was reading the New York Times, and I like to read the classified ads, the job section. Of course, it's all online these days, but back then, just the newspaper was the way you saw about job offerings. So I was looking and studying, investment banker. That sounds very good. Portfolio analyst. So I would study those ads in the New York Times. And then, when they would ask me, "What do you want to be?" I would say, "Now I want to be an investment analyst." "Oh, this is so wonderful." Immediately, mother would rush to the bookshop. Come back with a book. "Your future as an investment banker." So you see that we do think of the future. But I wanted the best future. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada's books prepared me for that best future and the best occupation, which is engaging in the transcendental loving service of Krishna. And you can do it in this ashram, that ashram, another ashram. The bhakti system is so scientific that everyone can engage in the supreme occupation, paradharma. Everyone can do that. Different styles according to your ashram status, but still the supreme occupation. So we should keep in mind what our future will be. What is the best occupation? And then our path ahead is clear. But if we lose sight of what is the supreme occupation, our life becomes very hazy and fuzzy. Let us consider the case of Devamrita Maharaj. He talks about two kinds of thirst in reference to his life. His occupation as a king ended suddenly and dramatically. Have you ever thought what it would be like to be in his shoes, in his situation? To be emperor of the world, to have everything. And then, at a moment's notice, it's all finished. What was Devamrita Maharaj's reaction when Shamika Rishi, the father of the young Brahmana boy who cursed Devamrita Maharaj, the Rishi came to Devamrita Maharaj to convey the horrible news, hoping the king would counteract the curse the boy, the Rishi's own son. But what was Devamrita Maharaj's attitude? I don't want this Rishi to feel so embarrassed that his son cursed me. So let the curse stay. That'll be the way to minimize all the disturbances. I accept the curse. Now you might say, I could never do that. It's situations like this, you can tell yourself, that make bhakti seem so unattainable, right? And that's why we're uninspired, right? Because the bhakti examples are just on another level, and we could never be on that level, right? So therefore, better not to take it so seriously. And the best thing to focus on is to be a good American, make money and enjoy. But try to understand that the experiential reality, what Pritchett was tasting, was so far beyond mundane experience that he could truthfully say that. Oh, I've been cursed to die in 7 days by this young boy, and now his father has come to me full of shame and embarrassment. I don't want the Rishi to feel that way. So I just accept the curse. I'll die. So rather than thinking, oh, this makes bhakti just unattainable, impossible, we should think, what's going on here that can be so inspiring? What's going on here that can transform my life? I cannot imitate Pritchett Maharaj, but I can try to follow in his footsteps. And that's what the Bhakti Marg is all about, following in the footsteps. And then Krishna gradually increases your bhakti enthusiasm and determination just by trying to follow in the footsteps. So Pritchett Maharaj's attitude as he sat down on the bank of the river and sought advice from all sages from all parts of the universe, his attitude was, as he said, let the snake bird bite. I've been cursed to die in 7 days by a snake bird. So what? Let it happen. Snake bird or whatever magical thing the Brahmana boy has concocted. Let it happen. My focus is that I simply want to hear the glories of Krishna without break. So this is very important. He's showing you what is the ultimate luxury, the ultimate status achievement. Status achievement is very important, yes. Often we define ourselves in terms of what others think of us. One devotee at Chopati Temple was telling me, after several visits to the USA, he said that he had discovered the main difference between those born in America and those born in India. What's that? He said, in America, you just care about what you want and what you think. You don't care about what others think about you. And he said, in India, you're always concerned what the others think about you. What image they have of me. Pritchett, just think. He was fixed on the ultimate attainment, the ultimate respectability. He wanted to be seen properly by the greatest sages and sadhus. He wanted to be seen properly by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That means he wanted to be situated properly. He was not concerned with mundane recognition. And that's difficult for us. We feel that we have to have some kind of external polish. We have to be concerned about our social position. I think last time I was here, I explained an interesting fact about income. Income is very important. I explained that for those of you who weren't here or don't remember. It's good to repeat it. Let's say you're making $50,000 a year. Everyone here wants to make more than $50,000. But let's say you're making $50,000 a year. And you think, I'll be so much happier if I make $100,000 a year. Right? So actual psychological tests have demonstrated this syndrome. All right, now you're making $100,000 a year. You've doubled your purchasing power. Isn't that glorious? You've doubled it. But guess what? If, even though you've gone from 50 to 100K, if those around you are making 150,000, you'll feel worse than when you were only making 50,000. Now, what do you say about that? In other words, so much of your career happiness and conceptions of success are based on what others are doing and earning around you. So it's not that you're just earning an income in isolation. Everything is in reference to others. So what do you think about it? Even though you've doubled your income because others around you in your neighborhood, in your temple, are making more than you. You're in anxiety, and you feel worse than when you're just making 50K a year. This is how Maya operates. This is Maya Shakti. And, for those who don't remember, I think I explained last time I was here, the research that shows for every dollar that your income goes up, your expectations increase by 44 cents. So if you're making 100,000, you feel like I should be making 144,000. It just goes up and up and up. Your expectations always go higher than what you're earning, no matter that you're increasing your earning. When does it end? So Parikshit Maharaj, by his example, is showing another dimension of living. So he shouldn't just dismiss it like, oh, this is so far above us, there's no point even hearing about it. It's very practical. He's showing the path that we should follow in our internal development, in developing our real wealth. There was a point in his dialogue with Shukadeva Goswami in which Shukadeva Goswami was thinking, I should stop now because Parikshit Maharaj must be thirsty. So I should stop speaking to give him a chance to drink some water. But what was Parikshit Maharaj doing? What was he thinking? He's demonstrating the highest level of absorption in Krishna Katha. He said, remember, once before I was thirsty, what happened? I got into that incident, putting the dead snake on the shoulders of the rishi, and this whole drama started. So that happened when I was thirsty. I just wanted some water. The rishi was in samadhi, I found out later. He didn't respond to me. I took it as inhospitality, as callousness, insensitivity. And so I wrapped the snake around his shoulders, and then his young son found out about it and cursed me, and so this whole drama, just because I was thirsty. So he told Shukadeva Goswami, don't stop. All the thirst-quenching nectar that I need is coming in the words of Krishna Katha, talks about Krishna. This is practical. Sometimes we wonder, how will this emphasis on hearing and chanting about Krishna, how will that affect my practical life? How will it affect my career, my bottom line? How will it affect my mortgage payments? But you see in Bhagavatam, through the life of Parikshit Maharaj, how hearing about Krishna affects our life at the deepest level. So much so that Parikshit Maharaj was, in his absorption in hearing about Krishna, didn't want to stop for any ordinary thirst-quenching beverage. This is very significant. It's showing you what is the actual remedy for all the ills of Kali Yuga. And we see those ills of Kali Yuga are increasing all the time. Whatever promised you unity and bringing people together, what is the result? People are more divided than ever before. I wonder how many of you remember 15, 20 years ago when the social media started. What was the promise? Everyone would be brought together through the internet. Everyone could have more relationships. That was the promise. Politically, the promise was that now democracy can be even more effective because everyone can express their opinion on the internet. Maybe some of you remember all this propaganda? And what has actually happened? Because it's Kali Yuga. People are becoming more divided. More factions are existing than ever before. What offered hope for unifying and bringing people together turns out to divide people more than ever. This is the way it is. That's why Devamrita Maharaj says, the cure is worse than the disease. The so-called remedy is more problematic than the situation the remedy is supposed to cure. So now, social psychologists are pointing out the negative effects of social media. It gives people an artificial sense of relationship and connection. It fools people into thinking they actually have substantial relationships, when actually these digital relationships are so superficial. But the people can't see that. They think, oh, how many Facebook friends do I have? I'm so popular. I'm in touch with so many persons. But it's so shallow. What human beings, and we're speaking material now, what a material human being needs is face-to-face contact, resonance. But the social media doesn't give that. Therefore, people are feeling more lonely than ever before. And more depressed. Because on social media, do you ever see pictures of persons bored and stressed out? No, everyone is looking their finest. Oh, I'm having such a good time. You should be here with us, right? You never see video clips or photos of persons looking miserable. So what happens is that those who are, like everyone else mostly, depressed and bored, they become more depressed because they think, everyone's enjoying except me. Look at this video clip I just got of all my friends at some cafe having a good time. I'm not there, I have to study. My parents are making me concerned about my career. I have to study for some exam that's happening 2 months in the future. You all know about that. Yes, my parents were like that too. So, what has supposedly brought people together and improved their life has made them more miserable. That is the effect of everything in Kali Yuga. Did you know that just in the past 20 years, the use of antidepressants in America has gone up 400%? Just in the past 20 years. Something's wrong. Therefore, we should deeply consider what Srimad Bhagavatam is offering. And not just brush it away as mythology, grandmother's stories, or so far beyond us that it's not worth considering. No. Parikshit Maharaj and Shukadeva Goswami are directly speaking about how to solve all humanity's problems. Bhava Aushadhi. What is the cure to Bhava? Repeated birth and death. Where are the doctors who can solve that? First of all, you have to recognize that it's a disease. How many of you ever thought, samsara, this bhava, this repeated birth and death, is a disease that should be cured? No, you didn't think that. Oh, birth happens, death happens, part of life. But Bhagavatam takes the opposite view. Birth and death, old age and disease are in of themselves a disease which a human being should cure. A human being should have access to the remedy. So Parikshit Maharaj and Shukadeva Goswami discuss that the only remedy for all the ills of Kali Yuga is hearing and chanting about Krishna. So we owe it to ourselves to experience that. And then our spiritual life becomes very sound. What does that mean? We say, Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtana. Let there be all glories to the glorification of Krishna, chanting Hare Krishna, individually in japa, congregationally in kirtan. Let there be all victory. Each one of us needs our own personal victory in terms of our hearing and chanting about Krishna. How it allowed us to pass over severe obstacles, setbacks. When you have that kind of personal victory, Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtana, then your spiritual life becomes very strong. You can be attacked by physical ailments, mental ailments, financial woes, family woes. But if you can have the experience that by increasing your attachment to chanting Hare Krishna and hearing about Krishna, you successfully transited that phase, you'll never forget it. And that is the meaning of Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtana that we should strive for. And then our spiritual life becomes very strong because we have realization. But to get that realization, we have to try. How it is that simply by increasing my attachment to chanting Hare Krishna, I can pass through this difficult phase. How is that so? We have to be scientific and apply the procedure. That procedure is very important. As Krishna says to Arjuna at the beginning of the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Maya Sakta Manaparta Yogam Yunjun Marashraya Asamsayam Samaram Mam Yatha Gyasasi Tachchanu. Just listen, Arjuna. I'm going to teach you the laboratory procedure. I'm inviting you into the Bhakti laboratory. I'm going to tell you the laboratory process, and you apply it according to what I say, you'll get the results. You'll know everything, and there won't be any doubt. Asamsayam Samaramma. Just listen. So this is Bhakti, as I often explain at university campuses. Krishna doesn't ask you to believe. He wants you to apply the process. To apply the process takes lifestyle engineering. The more you transform your lifestyle, the more you can understand what Krishna is saying. And the more you apply what Krishna is saying, the more the thirst for material enjoyment and the thirst for hearing about Krishna increases. So Parikshit Maharaj is dealing with two kinds of thirst. First of all, Nivritta Trishna, the thirst, extinguishing the thirst for material desire. And then there's Krishna Trishna, the thirst for Krishna. So we want one thirst to go down and the other thirst to increase. We're not against thirst, you see. We're not against greed. Real lobha, real greed, is for giving Krishna pleasure. But we're against material greed. But it's not that we decrease the material greed and then we have nothing. No. We aspire to develop real lobha, real greed. The thirst, the greed to satisfy Krishna's senses. So Parikshit Maharaj's case is very interesting. He's showing you the negative and the positive simultaneously. Once before I was thirsty in the wrong way. Now I am thirsty in the best way. And this best way that I am thirsty is actually the solution to all humanity's problems. Even so far as curing the Bhava Roga, the disease of repeated birth and death. Here is the remedy. Who will not take this remedy? You must be suicidal in terms of killing your own possibilities, ruining your future. Only such a person would not take advantage of hearing about Krishna, talking about Krishna. So what do you think? Is this exaggeration? You might think, oh, these verses in the Bhagavatam, they're just to inspire us. They're there just to try to cheer us onward, but factually, these verses are overblown. No. These verses are showing you the actual possibilities. Just like when you have your career in college conference, they're going to show you the possibilities. So, Bhagavatam is doing the same thing. Here's the career possibilities. Here are the possible attainments. How much do you want? Remind you, my mother, she had her own version of what were the perfect attainments, the cities, the perfections of material life that she understood. So when I was 8 years old, she told me, you got to be 3 things, son, if you want to be successful. You have to be a scholar, you have to be an entrepreneur, and you have to be a Christian. Then you're successful. Maybe I disappointed her. But one who is studying Srimad Bhagavatam is the greatest scholar, one who understands, trying to understand Krishna. That is the most intelligent person. So maybe one day she'll understand that her son took up the highest occupation. I was discussing with His Holiness Devamrita Maharaj, and he told me a comment Srila Prabhupada made, because many parents of devotees born in the West don't understand what their children are doing. They can't at all fathom what's going on. It's so different from how they were raised. But Srila Prabhupada said that for such parents of his Western-born disciples, at their last moment in this world, at their last breath, they'll get realization of the inconceivable value that they are getting because one of their children became a devotee. At the last breath. So I told that to my mother. At the last breath, you'll understand. But at that point, she confided to me something that she hadn't explained before. This was some years ago. She said, oh, so it is the last breath that I'll understand why you're doing what you're doing? You graduate from Yale University, then 6 months later you go into the Ramachandra? I don't understand this at the last moment. So, he said, I'll tell you something, son. Do you know what I was thinking about while you were being conceived? Of course, I had to say, Mother, I have no idea what you were thinking about while I was being conceived. And I'll tell you. I was praying to God to send me His servant. I said, well, Mother, just maybe, possibly, slightly, it could be that your desire sort of was fulfilled. She looked at me and said, but I meant for Jesus, not Krishna. So I told her, next time, if there's a next time, be more specific. You know? We need to understand what our topmost occupation is, our topmost career. Arjuna had a career in the ordinary sense, and Krishna addressed that. For one who's been honored, doing his occupational duty, dishonor is worse than death. Happy are those Kshatriyas who fight in a righteous way and go to the heavenly planets, that's Krishna talking about his material occupation. You see, Bhagavad Gita deals with two levels, material occupation and the spiritual occupation. So bhakti is full. When Krishna says, yada yada dharmasya glani bhavati bharata, whenever and wherever there's a dharmasya glani, that means an imbalance in the material and spiritual affairs. Whenever that happens, dharmasya glani, Krishna comes. So Bhagavad Gita takes everything into account. Economics, politics. It's there. You can see it. Imam Rajasya Ovadu. I spoke this knowledge of the Gita to kings, to government leaders, because it's their duty to protect the people. How can the people have any protection if they don't know how to handle the attacks of lust, anger, greed, madness, envy, illusion? So that's Krishna's politics. He was also making politics in terms of the whole battle of Kurukshetra. As you know, Duryodhana and company, they were competent administrators. Did you know that? They did some underhanded, cutthroat, murderous things. But still, they were competent. They actually thought, Duryodhana and company, they thought, we can give better protection to the people than the Pandavas. They're rivalry, they're Kshatriyas, pride, competition. And they were competent, materially speaking. They only had one problem. What was that? They're anti-Krishna. Therefore, Krishna wanted them out. Although they were materially competent, you have to understand that. They were actually expert, materially. But because of that one problem, Krishna said they got to go. He wanted them out and his people in. That's politics. So here you have an example of Krishna making politics. I want my party in power. So there you have it. But we use politics. It is also economics. Anad bhavati bhutani. Living entities subsist on grains. Grains come from the rain. Rain comes from yajna, sacrifice. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is recognizing that the economic basis of a real human society is land and cows. At the Gita Nagari Farm Project, we are trying to demonstrate that. So many students from different universities are visiting, and it's the first time they've ever seen a cow face to face. The only time they usually see part of a cow is the horrible pieces of flesh on their plate. So many of them, when they come to Gita Nagari and they see 88 cows face to face, they're so peaceful, the cows, that the students say, how can we eat these creatures? We are crazy. So many of them leave and stop eating meat. And they like to hug the cows also, because they say it makes them feel so stress-free. In fact, in some countries in Europe, especially the Netherlands, entrepreneurs have opened businesses on farms where you pay to hug a cow, then you de-stress. Yeah, it's true. I read about it in the New York Times. So here we are thinking, all this emphasis on cow protection is very dreamy. Meanwhile, people are starting to understand so much benefit from cows. So Prabhupada wanted to demonstrate what is the basis of a real economy. There were two things that Prabhupada said 3 times. According to Vedic injunction, when you say something 3 times, that means it's undeniably essential and important. He said, distribute books, distribute books, distribute books, and farm, farm, farm. Because that's the real basis of a civilized society. But we're so accustomed to drinking slaughterhouse milk. We're so accustomed to artificial well-being. That's why Prabhupada wanted his devotees to be able to see, because seeing is believing in today's world. No one accepts anything by hearing. That's Vedic method. That's for your great-grandmothers. But seeing, oh yes, that's the proof of everything. All right, you want to see? Here's a farm, you see? See the cows, see the land, see the food. So everything is there in Bhagavad Gita. Politics, economics, career advice. Krishna was giving Arjuna career advice. Happy are those Kshatriyas who do their job properly. They go to the heavenly planets. Of course, Krishna's not exhorting anyone to go to heavenly planets, but he's just pointing out the job possibilities. And also, Krishna's pointing out the negative. You've been honored so much. For you, dishonor will be worse than death in your occupation. But then, Krishna emphasizes the supreme occupation. Mamanushma yujyam cha. Do your occupation and think of me. Sacrificing all the results for me. That is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. Sometimes persons are confused. Oh, Bhagavad Gita says this and it says that. There's no contradiction. There's no confusion. But even if you think there is, you take the last thing Krishna says. And the last thing is he introduces the foremost occupation, the supreme occupation of simply doing what he says for his pleasure. So please consider in your contemplation of your career. See it on two levels, just like Krishna was advising Arjuna, on two levels. The material occupation and the supreme occupation. Then you have the whole picture, and you can proceed in your life very expertly. And understand that there is no solution to the problems of Kali Yuga except hearing and chanting about Krishna. All the other solutions have turned out to be just temporary fantasies. During Prabhupada's time, he would talk about the United Nations, right? The United Nations is meant to bring nations together. And all we see outside the United Nations building in New York is that the flags are increasing, meaning more and more division. I remember in the 1950s as a young boy in school, we were taught this famous, especially by this famous economist, Keynes. He said, there will come a time soon, due to the advancement of society, that people will have so much leisure time they won't know what to do with it. Yes, you remember? Yeah, he was promising like that. And he offered what he thought was the cutting-edge occupation for the end of the 20th century. What was that cutting-edge occupation? He called it, such persons who did this occupation, leisure engineers. You need engineers to teach you what to do with your leisure time because you have so much of it. Well, you know, the reverse happens, right? People have less time than ever before. So in the 1950s, the capitalists were promising, so much leisure time is coming to you, you're going to need a leisure engineer. And the communists are also promising that the state will wither away, everyone will have less and less work. Whether it's capitalist or communist, all the result is people work harder and harder and harder and harder. This is Kali Yuga. Whatever solution turns out to be disastrous in its effects. So we're not sentimental when we say to people, simply chant Hare Krishna. This is the pinnacle of science. But please remember, Devamrita Maharaj's dialogue with Shukadeva Goswami, how it's demonstrating the highest experience which is available for us if we humbly follow in those footsteps, keeping that ultimate attainment in mind. Our whole life can transform, and our spiritual experience will increase. All right, any questions?
Swami?
Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. My question to you is, state of self-actualization?
As a human being, how do you define happiness?
That leads to a state of self-actualization.
That leads to a state of self-actualization. First, we have to know what the self is before we try to actualize it.
Right.
That's why we need knowledge, education. Then we can understand what is happiness. The mistake you see these days is not why these days. Material life is always like that. People want to be happy, but they don't know actually what the self is, and therefore how can they know how to be happy?
Thank you very much.
This is ignorance. Third canto Bhagavatam, Maitreya and Vidura having their conversation. What do they say? Only two kinds of persons can be happy in this world. So let's see if you fit in any of those two categories. The first category is a completely self-realized sage, sadhu, free from all material attachment, paramahansa, existing 100% on a spiritual platform. That kind of person, they say, can be happy in this world. Anyone in that category? All right, what's the other category? Category number 2. You don't want to be in that one. Complete materialistic muda. Complete fool. Just work, work, work. Enjoy the senses, work, work, work. Don't worry about tomorrow. Enjoy today. Those are the only two types of persons who can be happy. The first type has real happiness, Brahma Sukha, the happiness of self-realization. The other type has artificial, imaginary happiness, but still, they think they're happy. Oh, I'm feeling so good right now. Give me another beer. They think they're happy. That's the happiness of a fool. So, all right, you're not in category 1, right? And I'm sure none of you are in category 2. Right? You're not in category 2. So what's happening? Where are we then? Vidura and Maitreya said everyone else in between has to feel some anxiety. Because you're not smart enough and you're not dumb enough. You're not smart enough to be a complete transcendentalist, and you're not dumb enough to be a complete materialist Buddha. So in between you are, and therefore you have to be in anxiety. The solution is make progress to the top category. Anything else? Yes.
What's the best Krishna conscious job I can do at this age?
What's the best Krishna conscious job you can do at your age? How old are you?
I'm 12.
You're 12. Did you know that in some temples, like ISKCON Silicon Valley, the 12-year-olds are all organized for distributing Prabhupada's books, and they're very effective because people are so impressed? You're just 12 years old, and you're presenting this book to me. I would like to see that the book distribution becomes more organized here. Then you'll see a change in the temple inner dynamics. So I'm looking for persons who can push this on, involving as many persons as possible. There are congregations in the USA that have become transformed just by doing this. There are two things I've noticed that can most powerfully transform your congregation. One is by involving a huge portion of the congregational members in studying the Shastra, Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Vedanta. I know one temple in Australia, Melbourne, did this. Not just a few persons taking the courses, but involving the whole congregation studying Prabhupada's books in a systematic way. And then the result was the factions and the divisions started to disappear because the congregation had higher things on their mind. I saw this. It was amazing. And the other thing is the congregational book distribution. ISKCON Silicon Valley, of course, is the leader in that. And if you are able to provide some persons who want to try to learn how to do this, then I can make the necessary arrangements for experts to help you. But this is the wave of Lord Chaitanya's mercy that's sweeping the temples. We don't want to be left out, do we? There's so many materials online. If we just show some interest, if we can identify some persons who want to learn, something can happen. I have seen even 5-year-olds, you're 12, but I've seen 5-year-olds watching his book distribution videos by Sheshika Prabhu online, and then going out and executing. One 5-year-old young boy was telling me how he did. I watched the video, and then he would just imitate. You see, it's all in the hand. Hello, sir. See, Maharaj, it's all in the hand. So that's a very good question. Thank you. Anything else? Yes.
Maharaj, thank you. Most of our congregation these days is very much attached to Vedic culture, but at their convenience. So what is the daily practice you recommend so that our spiritual occupation does not fall second to our material occupation?
Vedaishta sarvaya aham eva vedo. Krishna says, I am the goal of Vedic culture. By Vedic culture, I'm to be known. Therefore, in this day and age, Krishna is present in the sound of his name. The more seriously you take your japa, the more you'll feel Krishna's presence. But unfortunately, in today's working world, with all the stresses and pressures that are there, the first thing that goes is quality japa. And after the quality japa goes, what goes next? Japa itself. So that's the big problem. Japa is yajna, sacrifice. That means you have to sort out your life to give pride of place, give the number one position to chanting Hare Krishna. Then you'll see a transformation in your life because you made adjustments to your lifestyle. So you want to be Vedic? Then go to the conclusion of the Vedas. All right. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.